Real-Time 1960s presents Evening Report, a complete roundup of today's news with Joe Rubenstein.
Good evening. In Washington, President Johnson decorates a hero. In Berkeley, police arrest 800 students. In Dallas, Senator Fulbright speaks out on Vietnam. Ringo gets his tonsils out, Dr. King wins the Nobel Prize, and Muhammad Ali is on the mend. Those are the headlines. The details after this message.
You asked for it, an instant tea so delicious you like to linger over it. And now it's here. All new Lipton Instant Tea. Blended an all-new way with finest orange pico tea. Better when you make it, dissolves instantly in cold water. Better when you drink it, real fresh brewed flavor. The one instant tea so delicious you like to linger over it. Get all new Lipton Instant Tea. And here's more news from Lipton. Convenient new lemon-flavored instant tea. Now, no lemons to slice. Regular, lemon-flavored. Tastes so good, you know it's Lipton. Instantly.
In the East Room of the White House Saturday, President Johnson decorated 30-year-old Army Captain Roger Donlon, the nation's first military hero of the conflict in Vietnam, to receive the Medal of Honor. Congress granted the authority to make such an award in July of 1963 after it emerged that American military men wounded in Vietnam were not even eligible for Purple Heart awards, as the conflict was not officially considered a war but a counterinsurgency effort. Captain Donlon's heroic action took place last summer during a Viet Cong night attack against a U.S. military encampment 20 miles from the Laotian border, where he was commanding officer of a Special Forces detachment. On July 6th, 2 Viet Cong battalions launched a full-scale pre-dawn attack on his camp. A White House statement said, quote, "During the violent 5-hour battle that ensued, which resulted in heavy casualties on both sides, Captain Donlon personally led successful defense operations. Repeatedly exposing himself to heavy enemy fire, he was wounded 4 times during the engagement." Unquote. In Dallas this afternoon, Senator J.W. Fulbright, Democrat of Arkansas and chairman of the Foreign Relations Committee, said that stepping up the war in Vietnam would be senseless. He added that U.S. involvement in the Vietnamese conflict had been a mistake in the first place. Fulbright, after addressing 2,000 students at Southern Methodist University, told a news conference that he agreed with the late General Douglas MacArthur that the U.S. should not get into a land war in Asia. He said President Eisenhower had been correct in refusing military involvement in South Vietnam. Fulbright emphasized, however, that he was not advocating withdrawal from Vietnam, but rather a policy of non-escalation. At a rally at the University of Michigan today, Mario Savio, leader of the student free speech movement at Berkeley, denounced the University of California's administration as a bureaucracy that, quote, "caters to government and business interests," unquote. Last week, free speech demonstrations on the Berkeley campus led to the arrest of some 800 students who staged a sit-in at the administration building. The dispute began last September when the university announced it would no longer permit the use of campus property for soliciting political funds and recruiting demonstrators. The students objected, and a series of demonstrations resulted. After 8 students were suspended, the demonstrations were stepped up. After last week's sit-in and mass arrests, California Governor Edmund Brown said the law would be enforced at Berkeley. He explained why he had approved the crackdown.
Well, it's a very simple thing. I was advised that people were violating the law, young people and good people, and the peace officers of that community recommended that they be arrested. And without passing judgment on whether or not they were violating the law, I told them if they were, that they had to do their duty. And as a result of that, the police moved in with the university police. They needed some assistance from the highway patrol, which I gave them in order to preserve law and order. Governor's job is to see that all the laws of this state are enforced, and that I did.
At the same time, California State Assemblyman Don Mulford denounced the demonstrators.
This is a complete breakdown of law and order. This is a complete breakdown of respect for the normal rules of conduct that we have every right to expect of our students in these tax-supported institutions. The university is a great institution. I'm a graduate of the university. I support it. But I resent very, very much the attempt of outside forces to come in and influence what I think started out to be a basic disagreement of policy between the students and the administration.
He was asked to identify the outside forces to which he referred.
I do not know. I think this is one of the main reasons why we must have a legislative inquiry to obtain facts. I have received much information, but I'm not at liberty to divulge this information because I'm not sure of its authenticity. I have reason to believe that it is authentic, however. President Kerr has made a statement concerning the intrusion of communist interests into this controversy. I have reason to believe that this is true. I concur with a comment he has made from my own investigation.
On Wednesday, the students, who had demanded there be no punitive action by the university, were supported by the faculty's academic senate. The following day, Savio spoke outside Sproul Hall on the Berkeley campus.
We're asking that there be no restrictions on the content of speech save those provided by the courts. And people can say things within that area of freedom which are not responsible. And now that's, we've finally gotten into a position where we have to consider being responsible because, now we have the freedom within which to be responsible. And I'd like to say, I'm confident that the students and the faculty, University of California, will exercise their freedom with the same responsibility they've shown in winning their freedom.
This afternoon, Savio traveled from Ann Arbor to New York, where he plans to visit several other universities. This evening, he's scheduled to tape a Les Crane TV show, which has been scheduled for viewing tomorrow on ABC. On Tuesday, Dr. Martin Luther King arrived in Oslo, Norway, where today he received the $54,000 Nobel Peace Prize. Newsmen and a crowd of hundreds assembled at the airport to greet Dr. King as he stepped off the plane.
This is, for most of us, our first trip to Scandinavia, and we look forward to making many new friends while here and in Sweden. We feel we have much to learn from Scandinavia's democratic socialist traditions and from the manner in which you have overcome many of the social and economic problems that still plague far more powerful and affluent nations. I bring you greetings from many, many Americans of goodwill, Negro and white, who are committed to the struggle for brotherhood and to the crusade for world peace. On their behalf, I have come to Oslo to accept the Nobel Peace Prize. Thank you very kindly.
At a ceremony today at Oslo University, Dr. King accepted the prize on behalf of the civil rights movement and, quote, all who love peace and brotherhood, unquote. The Baptist minister, who at 35 was the youngest person ever to win the award, said that despite racial and other difficulties in the U.S., he had faith in his country. He said he refused to believe that mankind was, quote, so tragically bound to the starless midnight of racism and war that the bright daybreak of peace and brotherhood can never become a reality, unquote. I'll have more news for you after this message.
Something special. Home-baked Butterflake dinner rolls. Pillsbury Quick Butterflake dinner rolls. Fresh dough for fresh home baking. Made in layers with butter, real butter between layers. The layers fan out as they bake. Tops turn crisp and golden brown. Serve them fresh, hot, and bursting with buttery flavor.
Nothing says lovin' like something from the oven, and Pillsbury says it best.
Pillsbury Butterflake dinner rolls in the dairy case.
Here again, Joe Rubenstein.
In Mississippi Friday, the FBI arrested the Neshoba County Sheriff, his deputy, and 19 other white men in connection with the murder of 3 civil rights workers in Neshoba County last June 21st. The Bureau said the murder of the 3 men, 21-year-old Andrew Goodman, 24-year-old Michael Schwerner, and 21-year-old James Chaney, had been plotted by the Ku Klux Klan. It said the arrested sheriff, Lawrence Rainey, had been involved in the conspiracy but had not taken part in the actual murders. It added that his deputy, Cecil Price, had set up the crime by unlawfully arresting and detaining the victims, then handing them over to a lynch mob, of which the deputy was a part. Others arrested included a Philadelphia, Mississippi city policeman, a fundamentalist Baptist minister, and several leaders of the White Knights of the Ku Klux Klan of Mississippi, which is believed to have fomented much of the state's racial violence in the past year. Civil rights leaders applauded the arrests, but at the same time expressed doubt that convictions could be obtained in Mississippi. Roy Wilkins, executive director of the NAACP, said, quote, "The FBI has done its job. It is up to Mississippi to do the rest. We may be sure that the evidence is of a kind which, in any normal jurisdiction, would justify indictment by a grand jury. Mississippi, however, is not a normal jurisdiction. The record to date shows that its white people can kill Negroes without fear of punishment by a judicial process." Unquote. Beatle drummer Ringo Starr went home from University College Hospital in London today looking fit and well. He left behind his famous tonsils, announcing that, quote, "they've been burned," unquote. Hospital attendants then had to force their way through 100 screaming fans so the 24-year-old Beatle could enter his chauffeur-driven car. Before departing, Ringo answered a few questions from the press.
How did you enjoy your stay in hospital?
Oh, it was nice, thanks.
How did you get on with the nurses?
Not so bad, you know. Very nice nurses.
Were you a model patient?
You better ask the nurses about that.
What did you dislike about being in hospital?
Nothing really, because I had to go in, so I just sort of settled down and read and played records and got used to it again.
How's your voice feel now?
Not so bad. I don't think it's changed. Do you?
Could we hear it?
Hello. Hello, everybody.
What do you think about this rumor of George being married?
He's not married because he came in to see me and he told me.
As Ringo was driven away, one of the nurses said the unassuming Beatle had been a model patient, adding, quote, "I wish they were all like him," unquote. Sports, right after this.
Thefts, assaults, murders, violent crimes that could only happen on dark, deserted streets? Wrong. Every day they're committed in broad daylight, in full view of passers-by. Citizens who let crime happen because they don't care enough to get involved. No one likes to get involved in someone else's trouble. But what if you or your loved ones became victims of a criminal attack? Would you want someone to care enough to get involved? Remember the first rule of good citizenship: help others the way you'd want them to help you. Stop crime by caring enough to get involved. A public service message of the National District Attorneys Association.
In Boston Friday, Bob Nylon, president of Intercontinental Promotions Incorporated, announced that the heavyweight rematch between Muhammad Ali and Sonny Liston had been rescheduled for April 19th at Boston Garden. The fight was postponed last month when Ali, formerly Cassius Clay, underwent an emergency hernia operation. Nylon said he'd seen Liston recently and that the challenger, although disappointed by the delay, was keeping in excellent condition and his spirits were good. This afternoon, Ali was asked how he was feeling after his hospital stay.
Feeling real fine. I was out of the bed in 2 weeks and up and walking, and I'm getting strong each day, and I should be ready to go in light training in about 7 weeks.
Ali then predicted the outcome of the forthcoming heavyweight bout between former champion Floyd Patterson and Canadian George Chuvalo, set for February 1st at Madison Square Garden.
Oh, yes, he will annihilate the rabbit. The washwoman will annihilate the rabbit.
You mean you think Chuvalo can beat Patterson?
Yes.
Well, listen, if Chuvalo does beat Patterson, that will sort of eliminate Patterson. And I know in the past couple of years you've always wanted a shot at Patterson.
Well, Patterson, yeah, if he win, but if he don't qualify, then Chuvalo will be our man. I predicted Chuvalo will knock the rabbit out.
And finally tonight, the championship matchups in both pro football leagues are taking shape. On December 26th, the San Diego Chargers, who have won their fourth Western Division title, will face either the Buffalo Bills or the Boston Patriots in the American Football League championship game. In the National Football League, the Baltimore Colts, who won 11 straight games this season after an opening day defeat by Minnesota, will face either the Cleveland Browns or the St. Louis Cardinals on December 27th. And that, for this evening, completes our look at the latest news on this Thursday, December 10th, 1964. Thank you for joining us, and have a great day tomorrow.
This has been your Evening Report, a roundup of the latest news with Joe Rubenstein.